Have you ever wondered what happens if someone disturbs a grave or a dead body? It sounds like something out of a horror movie, right? But in Scotland, this isn't just a matter of disrespect. It's a serious crime with a history as fascinating as it is macabre. Welcome to a deep dive into the old and very real crime of violating sepulchres. What exactly is violation of sepulchres? The word sepulchre just means a tomb or a grave. This crime covers the act of destroying, damaging, or willfully disturbing a dead human body after it has been buried. It's not just about vandalism. It's about interfering with the final resting place of a person. This law has its roots deep in history, going back to a time when respect for the dead was paramount. Not just for moral reasons, but for religious and social ones too. But the most infamous chapter in the history of this crime comes from the 18th and 19th centuries, a time of great medical advancement in cities like Edinburgh. Back then, medical schools and anatomists were desperate for bodies to dissect and study. Anatomy was the cornerstone of modern medicine. But there was a huge problem. The only legal source of cadavers was the bodies of executed criminals, and there simply weren't enough of them to meet the demand. This created a grim and lucrative black market. This is where the resurrection men, or body snatchers, come in. These weren't ghouls digging up bodies for fun. They were criminals running a business. They would sneak into graveyards at night, often just after a fresh burial, and dig up the recently deceased. They became incredibly skilled at their trade, able to unearth a coffin, break it open, and remove the body in under an hour, leaving minimal trace. Why was this so prevalent in Scotland? Edinburgh was a world-renowned centre for medical education. Esteemed anatomists like Dr. Robert Knox paid good money for fresh subjects. No questions asked. The more famous the anatomy school, the higher the demand. This led to a constant, grisly supply chain, from the graveyards to the dissection tables. Families were terrified. They would stand guard over the graves of their loved ones for weeks. People built heavy iron cages over graves, known as mortsafes, to protect them. Some graveyards even had watchtowers built so that guards could keep an eye out for these resurrectionists. You can still see some of these mortsafes and watchtowers in old Scottish kirkyards today, like Greyfriars Kirkyard in Edinburgh, haunting reminder of this dark period. The law had to respond. While theft was a crime, the legal status of a dead body was complicated. Technically, a body couldn't be owned, so it couldn't be stolen in the traditional sense. This is where the common law crime of violation of sepulchres became crucial. It wasn't about theft of property. It was about the public offense of disturbing the dead. The courts prosecuted body snatchers under this crime. One of the most famous cases that brought this whole issue to a head was, of course, that of Burke and Hare in 1828. William Burke and William Hare took body snatching to a horrifying new level. Instead of digging up graves, they decided it was much easier to create fresh corpses themselves. They murdered at least 16 people in their Edinburgh lodging house, and sold the bodies directly to Dr. Robert Knox's anatomy school. Their crimes were so shocking because they weren't just disturbing the dead, they were creating the dead. When their spree was discovered, it caused a massive public outcry. Hare testified against Burke in exchange for immunity, and Burke was hanged and, ironically, publicly dissected. His skeleton is still on display at the Surgeons' Hall Museums in Edinburgh. The Burke and Hare case was a turning point. It highlighted the desperate need for a legal and ethical way for medical schools to obtain bodies. The public horror and pressure led directly to the Anatomy Act of 1832. This act made it legal for medical schools to use unclaimed bodies from workhouses and hospitals, and it also allowed people to donate their own bodies to medical science. This effectively put the body snatchers out of business and created the system of regulated body donation we have today. So, does the crime of violating sepulchres still exist? Absolutely. While we don't have resurrection men roaming the graveyards anymore, the law is still on the books. Today, it might be applied in different contexts. For example, maliciously vandalizing a grave, intentionally disturbing human remains found at an archaeological site without authority, or any other act that involves the willful and indecent treatment of a buried body could potentially be prosecuted under this old law. The crime is about more than just physical damage. It touches on our deep-seated need to show respect for the dead and to allow them to rest in peace. It acknowledges the grief of families and the sanctity of a final resting place. Even in our modern scientific world, the idea of disturbing a body feels fundamentally wrong, and Scots law reflects that. For instance, if someone were to illegally excavate a grave for profit, looking for old jewelry or artifacts, that would be a clear case. Or if someone were to desecrate a tomb as an act of hatred or malice, these acts still offend public decency and disrespect the memory of the deceased, which is precisely what the law was designed to prevent. It's interesting to think about how a law from centuries ago remains relevant. It has adapted from prosecuting ghoulish body snatchers supplying anatomy tables to protecting the dignity of the deceased in the 21st century. It shows that some principles, like respecting the dead, are timeless. The story of the violation of sepulchres is a fascinating slice of Scottish legal and social history. It's a tale of scientific ambition, criminal enterprise, public fear, and ultimately, legislative change. It reminds us that the laws we have today are often born from the strange and sometimes disturbing problems of the past. So next time you walk through an old Scottish graveyard and see a mortsafe, you'll know the incredible story behind it. It's not just an iron cage. It's a symbol of a time when the dead were not safe, and a testament to a law that sought to protect them. The crime of violating sepulchres serves as a powerful reminder of the enduring human need for dignity, even after death. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this dive into Scottish legal history interesting, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from the past. Let me know in the comments if you've ever seen a mortsafe or have any other strange legal facts to share. See you next time.